At the height of the recent floods in Assam, the water covered 12 districts, displacing more than 700,000 residents as rivers breached their banks and moved into the rural landscape. For the most remote villages, the rising water created an immediate crisis. These communities were completely severed from the outside world, unreachable by local roads and cut off from rescue boats. When ground access vanished, survival depended on an aerial response. The Indian Air Force deployed helicopters, landing in narrow clearings to offload food and essential supplies directly into the field. Today, river levels, like the Dhansiri in the south, are falling below the danger mark. But this drop follows a disaster that has already claimed 68 lives. The falling water levels reveal a reality that was previously hidden beneath the surface, exposing the scale of the damage left in the flood's wake. Currently, 5.24 lakh people remain affected across the state, many still unable to return home as the region enters a period of prolonged displacement. This map shows the concentration of displaced populations, with Sivasagar and Charadeo districts facing the highest density. Zooming in reveals the logistical network: 354 active relief camps. Roughly 37,000 people live inside these shelters, while over 150,000 depend on them for daily food distribution. Moving these supplies requires a coordinated ground effort. Personnel from the state and national disaster response forces, working alongside the Army, navigate the remaining floodwaters to keep these distribution hubs stocked. Sustaining survival in these camps requires a continuous, high-volume supply chain that must remain active long after the heavy rains stop. Beyond the immediate human rescue, the focus is now turning toward the impact on the region's agricultural economy. This area chart compares the typical seasonal agricultural output against the damage left by the water. Over 48,742 hectares of crop area have been destroyed. For individual farmers, the damage hit their primary assets, as they were forced to lead their animals through murky water and debris. The data shows that over 88,000 animals were impacted by the disaster, and more than 26,000 cattle and poultry were washed away. Infrastructure took a similar hit. At least 105 roads are reported as damaged, submerged, or eroded by the movement of the water. In the villages, many mud and brick houses could not withstand the prolonged submersion, leaving behind collapsed walls and scattered debris. The loss of a full harvest, the disappearance of livestock, and the damage to local roads represent a significant economic setback for the hardest-hit districts. With emergency rescue stabilizing, the government is shifting toward a structural assessment of the state. A central government assessment team has arrived in Assam to evaluate structural and crop damage. Their findings will determine the scale of federal financial assistance for the state. In the interim, the Assam cabinet has authorized the distribution of family relief kits as residents begin returning to their communities. To maintain food stability, the state is routing the procurement of essential items like rice and lentils through the National Agricultural Cooperative Marketing Federation. Once the current assembly session concludes, state ministers are scheduled to deploy to affected districts to lead rehabilitation efforts on the ground. The physical floodwaters are receding, but the recovery process will take years. Today marks the beginning of the effort to rebuild what was lost.